Hello and welcome to another ARCHLine.XP live webinar. My name is Zoltán Tóth. I'll be your host today to show you the live link, the plugin between ARCHLine.XP Live, the visual design, the ARCHLine software, and SketchUp. So what we are going to do today is we are going to look at the rudimentary basic workflow issues. And before we dig in, because I know that many of you are quite new to what ARCHLine.XP Live actually is, I have a short video for you to show you what it actually does and what it can be used for. So without me over explaining, let's see what ARCHLine.XP Live actually does. Spectacular material, isn't it? So if I want to sum up ARCHLine.XP Live with my own words, which are not as spectacular as a video, ARCHLine.XP Live is all about movement, bringing life into your design, because you don't want to spend too much time creating rendered visuals. You want to be as productive as you want to be. You want to spend more time on modeling and not on setting up materials. If you're looking for a very quick and spectacular result, which is all about moving trees, moving elements, and real-time or immediate reaction to your client's reaction, then that is what ARCHLine.XP Live delivers. Okay, but here's the thing. How do you get information into ARCHLine.XP Live? And that is what we are going to discuss today. Last time, my colleague Iles told you the live link between ARCHLine.XP, the design software, and Live. So he explained what happens if you want to bring in information from one software to the other, and how can you synchronize the changes in your design. That's all very fine, but what happens if you have another software? Maybe you have SketchUp and you want to know how to use your SketchUp models in ARCHLine.XP Live, and that is what we are discussing today. For that we have a plugin, which I'm going to show you where to download it from. If you have any questions during the show as I'm explaining things, you can ask the questions on the right hand side and I'll do my best to incorporate the answers, or at the end I'm going to discuss them. So let's jump right in and let's see what the plugin for SketchUp delivers. Okay, so what we have on the screen is a model, a project realized in SketchUp. This is not the whole project, this is only part of it, and we are very grateful for our user who gave us permission to use this project. This is one tiny portion of a larger residential area. There are many buildings, many elements. We cleaned up a model a bit in order to focus on the important details. So what we are going to show is how to get this model into Live, and what happens if you start working in Live but some changes come up and you want to track the changes in Live. So let's just walk around in this model. Like I said, this is located on a larger terrain plateau, but only a small fraction is what we are going to focus on. But you can see right away that we have the the model itself, the geometry, the materials, and also the objects. And if we could go into the details, we see that these are made of components, you can create sections, etc. But we are not really concerned about that right now. We want to know how to get this model up to life. Now you might see on the toolbar on the top that there's a button for ARCHLine.XP Live. And where is this toolbar coming from? That's the plugin itself that you can download, which I'm going to show you in a second how to do that. So by default, you should not find this button in your SketchUp. Obviously, you need to download the plugin for that. Once you do, the button will be there. Now, the task at hand is to see how to get this model up to life. And for that, first we have to download the plugin. If you go to the website, ARCHLine.XP.com/product/live, you can find the live website, and there you can see the button SketchUp plugin. This is a free to download content, so you don't have to buy it. You can just download it and you can use it. We made this available because we know that you want to use your existing projects in live, so we had to make that available. Okay, so returning back to the topic itself, how do we get the model onto live? Simple, just click on the button, and then the software would, what it would do is that it would wrap up your project with the materials, with all the content, and push it into ARCHLine.XP Live. The project loads up, but we need to know what exactly is that we see here. So what is the content that we see in live when it comes from SketchUp? Obviously, we would see the model for once. That's a no-brainer. And there's another set of things, and that is the materials. Is it something that you cannot change? Obviously, you can change. But first, let's see how can we actually modify and work on this model. First of all, you see that the model is here, but there are no views. Now, ARCHLine.XP Live is based on views. So the more views you have, the more flexibility you have with adjusting and editing the model. So the first thing that I would do is that I would actually set up a few views with which I can work. Before I do that, I can set up the correct sun path. So if I see that the model is a bit dark, maybe it's covered in shadows, you can just move the sliders and set up the best location of the sun for your purposes. So once we have that, let's just investigate what else we have. Here we have the model, we have the terrain, and no views. So you see on the top left that there's only one view recorded, but that's not good enough for us. So what we do is that we re-exponate the view that we see here. Now the view that we have now is stored. What does it mean? It means that you can at any time come back to this view, and if you click on this thumbnail, then the view would be set back to this viewpoint. Now this is very good for your purposes because later on, sorry, I think there's something with my sound. Let me just adjust something real quick. Yeah, now I think the sound would be a bit better. So what I was explaining is that let's talk about materials now. You see that there are several choices in terms of how a material looks like, and these are called material styles, and that's something you can set up. Why would you set that up? Because by defining how a material behaves, you define the reflection, the refraction, the roughness, the bump mapping, and with this predefined list, you don't have to care about how the slider should look like. You just define that this is a wall, so let's click on a wall. This should be a glossy surface, glossy surface. It should be a glass, transparent, etc. You can just set it up just like that. So again, this is all about speed. You don't have to, you can obviously adjust the sliders, but what I would like to do, I just use a predefined material and then I can just go with that. So roof is a very good example. You just use the sliders to define the brightness, reflection, and this way you can achieve the result that you are looking for. Let's add some more bump mapping. But for me, I'm not an expert on material setup, so I just like to use a predefined list. But this is, this is just how the material behaves. But what happens if you want to, change the materials? Because that's just, these are the materials that the model came from SketchUp with. But what happens if you want to, change a few things? Maybe you want to change the pavement, you want to change the grass and things like that. We have a built-in material and object library within Live. So with this, you can just go to the folders that you want to work with and just find, let's say, the grass, and just drag it and drop it onto the surface that you want to change. Do it once more because this terrain is made up of two places. So now you see that the material changed. So now this is something that you override something that came from SketchUp. You can do that. It's not frozen, so you can do whatever you want. let's adjust the tiling of the roads, because maybe you look for something more like a concrete block. So you have the choice to use the built-in material library of ARCHLine.XP Live. The curious thing about these libraries is that the content in it is very, very high quality. So that's not something that you make from an image. That's something that is in the software, and it has already the predefined properties of a high definition material. And you can obviously override it whenever you want. What I'm showing you now is the all instances mode. So you can change just one thing and all the other instances would be changing as well. Now, that's just one part of the story. You can add glass surfaces, of course. You can add, for example, I think there, now you can see that if I change the window color to one glass surface, then all the other would be changing. Same with this lamp. If I change it one time, all the other instances will be changing if I have the all instances mode selected. I think the last thing I'm not really satisfied with is maybe that concrete wall over there. That's too bland for me, so I'm just going to look for something more concrete-ish. Let's just find it. There's actually a search bar, so if you know what you're looking for, just type it in and it will be there. So dragging and dropping on it, it would just change into the way you want. Now let's move on to, let's see what kind of other things you can use to sort of dress up the surrounding, because it's still a bit bland. I mean, we have a large terrain, but there's nothing in there. It looks like we're in the middle of an island. So maybe bringing in some background would be a nice effect, because otherwise it's just going to be, you know, breaking the illusion. So luckily ARCHLine.XP Live comes with a library of backgrounds. So you can just, that's something that you can also load into the software, but luckily the software at this point comes with its own predefined background. So just go to the relevant folder, or if you know how to find these elements, just type in the name and find the element that you want to position. Now these backgrounds are sort of 360 photographs which have transparent places. So you see that above the trees it's transparent, so you can see the clouds moving. I'm not entirely satisfied with the position of this, so I could be rotating the background with the known transitional actions. You can move the background, you can rotate it, you can lift it up. I like to, you know, push it into the ground a bit so I don't see the boundary between the terrain plateau and the background as well. So let's just, you could also use some trees later on to sort of blend in the transition between the two, but I think now it's a much better solution. Here's one problem. The view that you see on the thumbnail in the bottom left, it's still, you know, without a background. So I need to adjust it, you know, in a way that I see what I have done, because now all my changes, they are not reflected on the output. So you need to update that with that button over there. And now if you see the thumbnail real quick, it's changed. So this way you can retake the pictures, and that way you can see exactly what you have done so far. Now, if we try to find another view, we might bump into this problem that I could be recording as many views as I want, but sometimes the sun position is not that fortunate. You see that the sun is on one side, and now half of my building is covered in shadows. So what is there to do? Especially if we come down here, we see that it's barely visible. So I need to move the sun. Does it going to affect the other views? No, that's the great thing. You can move the sun and it would not destroy the other views that you have done. So if you know that, for example, from this viewpoint the sun is good here, but on the other view I need to move the sun the other way, then you can do that just fine. So let's just find one view that I want to fine tune, because I have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 views, but some of the views are not that good. Before I do, let's jump into the folder and see what I have created, because these are actually not only views. Let me just drag the folder here because it opened up on the other screen, but these are also images. So these images, even at this stage of work, could be sent to my clients, and I can show them that, okay, this is how it works. So these are images, you can open it up, you don't need live for that, but with just an image browser you can see that this is how we stand right now. Okay, but before we sell the design to the client, let's just add some more things. So I did mention that there was some troubles with the sunlight, so I think that's the next thing I have to amend a bit. So here we are, and what we need to do, we have to move the sun in a way that my view would be a bit better. So what do? By the way, before you ask, the north direction, the sun's position, comes from the original source of the file. So if we know that I set up the north direction there, then that's where the north direction and the sun would be coming from. Let's just find the view. There we go. And before I actually deal with sun, I think we have to set up a few trees over there. So let's add a few of them. So if I drag and drop the trees from the library, I can position these things one by one. One thing about these trees is that these are three-dimensional foliage pieces, and they are so intricate that the details are so large that even the tree branches are moving gently in the wind. So with this you can paint the environment, and if you are clever enough with this and you use them well, then you can blend in the model with the background image. Now, painting or adjusting terrain this way is a bit cumbersome, so you don't want to, well, you could be positioning trees one by one, but that's just not that effective. For that, we have a foliage painter. What it does is that it just chooses a surface with a radius, and if you just click and drag the mouse, you can paint the surface with something that you want. But I don't want to have aggressive field, I want to have trees. So what I do is that I predefined a palette of foliage elements, and I just drag the mouse, and the trees are going to be drawn along a path or anywhere I want. So this way you can just very quickly mock up a sort of terrain environment around your model. Now that's what the foliage painter does, but again, if we keep on doing this, we might bump into the problem that all the things that we are doing are not really reflected on the views. So I might need to go back to my views and update them again, but I can spend some more time making my plan a little bit prettier. So let's close the foliage painter, go back to the views. I see that my plan is pretty barren. So, you know, the thumbnail doesn't show any of these things I have done. So I need to update the changes again, which I can do image by image, or I can do with a one sort of global switch, but now I'm just going to do it once. So if I go back to the folder, which I don't think I will do that now, I could see that the image is now updated, so I can send another version of my project. And this is something what I was meant to adjust few minutes ago. I want to adjust the sunlight because there's really no way around it. So I just click on the sun path, position sort of adjuster, and let me just move the slider until I see the model. It's much better. So okay, this is better. It's missing a few trees, but for example, for now this is fine. So now I'm just going to adjust the view. I could even rename it if I want. I could make view alternatives, one in the night and one in the day, maybe one in the shadows, one in the sunlight. Once I have that, I think I would need to add some more details to my drawing. And what do I mean by details? It's basically environmental elements, cars, street lamps, benches, people. Let's just fill it up with life. What I need is cars, for example. Well, question comes, why didn't I do that in SketchUp or another environment? Well, the answer is that in a CAD software, the more surface you have, the more difficult, the heavier the model gets. So if you're looking for adding elements to your model which are full of surfaces, it makes more sense to add them in live because the method of rendering is different, and here the software finds it easier to tackle these things than if you would do them in a CAD software. So let's just position the cars, move them the way you want. What do we miss? Maybe a human figure would be fine, I think. So let's just add Sophia over there, standing, wondering which of her two cars is she going to drive today. If you see, Sophia is moving, so that's something that we are going to deal with a little bit later on, but elements, human figures and cars can be made to move as well, but that's another topic for another day. What I want to see now is what do we do if we got to this point? So the project is advanced, but maybe something happens in the original model, and maybe something happens that I want to synchronize with this model. Let's say I spoke with my client, and the client said the model itself is fine, but there's a few things I want to adjust. What do I do? Do I have to recreate the whole thing again in live? Not really. What we do instead is we are going to do the changes in SketchUp and synchronize those changes back into ARCHLine.XP Live. Is it going to discard my previously made work? No, it's going to synchronize nicely. So here's that patio, or maybe the balcony, what I want to adjust somehow. So let's just go back to SketchUp, which was still running, by the way, so I haven't closed it. So that's the way it's meant to be. So you have the design software and you have live running parallel, so that way you can get the changes across right away. So let's discard the railing. And what I want to do is I want to make this piece of balcony a little bit larger. So what do? I click on the elements and I use this nice push-pull icon or tool and just enlarge this slab to the size I need it to be. Let's just rotate the view, and maybe I want to extrude it inwards. It has 3 layers, so I would need to do it one by one. I think I need to delete the lines between, otherwise I would need to, push-pull 3 times. I don't want that. Again, this is a conceptual stage, so I don't really care about layers at this point. Before I push-pull that element, I need to add another line, so as to give it a break. And when I do that, I can push it outwards. Materials are not that fine, so I need to replace some of the materials with this whitish material, and I think I'm satisfied with this, but the question arises, how do I get this changed model into live in a way that the things that I have already done are synchronized? And this is where the live sync comes into the picture. So what do I do is that I need to go to the toolbar and click on the relevant icon. Again, same thing like when you are importing things to live. And when I click that icon, the software is going to push the changes into live and the changes would be implemented. Let me just open up live, and I see that now the slab is changed. So it's great, especially because the things that I've done before are not lost. Okay, so now I have the changes synchronized. The question is, how do we sort of dress up this model a bit more? So what do we do? We can change the materials, we can add more elements to it, and this is where the content library comes into the picture. Before we do that, I think again the sun needs to be changed because this is very dark corner. So let me just change the sun a bit. There we go. Yeah, so I need more sunlight here, otherwise you won't see what I'm about to do. And then I'm going to show you the content library of ARCHLine.XP Live. Again, these are the things that are coming with the installer, so you don't have to manually download these things. But if I want to have patio chairs, tables, maybe other external elements, flower plants, for example, or flower pots, then I can just position them, move them, rotate them. Again, this is something that you could be doing in a modeling environment, but if you haven't done it for whatever reason and maybe you just want to get a little bit more realism to your model, then you can do that. Mind you, the things that you do in live are not going to be tracked back into SketchUp or Arch and any other design software. So the things that you do in live will stay in live. So the synchronization is not a backwards compatible thing. That's just something I wanted to point out. Let's go to the 3D warehouse and see how to get an item. I'm not going to download anything now. You just need to know that if you download something from the 3D warehouse, you can push that into live. I've already done it because I didn't want to spend too much time with that. And that element is going to be a fireplace. Let's just open it up real quick. And that way I can show you how to position a fireplace, add fire. And maybe for that I need to add night again, because otherwise the fire effect would not be too nice. But let's just see real quick what happens. Just go to the rotation menu. Let's just rotate it a bit, so as we are not going to burn our legs when we are sitting there during the very nice summer evening. And again, go to the material library and go for effects. Now we have steam, smoke, fire in different sizes. Let's just punch in a fire icon. And I think we have to change this sun again, because otherwise we are not going to see too much of it anyway. So once we added the fire, looks very nice. So could be imagining sitting there on a Saturday afternoon or evening with friends. Would be nice. Unfortunately now it's very cold out here. Okay, so let's talk about what happens if you want to keep on working with lights, because we already talked about sun, we have talked about fire, but we haven't talked about the artificial lights. We have a few street lamps over here. What's the story with those? When we exported the street lamps from SketchUp, they imported as objects, so they don't really know if they are lamps or not. So you need to manually add glass surfaces to them and then add the light sources to them. So now I have the all instances mode disabled, so I need to manually change all the glass surfaces for all the lamps. But once I have done that, I go to lamps, but I'm not meant to now position actual lamp objects. I'm looking for light sources, and that ARCHLine.XP Live has as well. So what you do is that you click on the light source scheme if you like, and dragging and dropping it in let's just adjust the sun again so that the result will be a bit more pertinent, otherwise you're not going to see too much of it. So okay, so now it's early in the morning and the street lamps are on, so just drag, drop it. Up there, it's not the best result because the light source is a bit weak, so I need to crank it up a bit. So let's just do that. I could be changing the light's color as well, but the problem is now is the position. I think the light source is pushed into the cone of the lamp, and now not much is visible of it, so I would need to click on the light source and use the transition menus and move it much better now. So now the result is a bit better. You could be moving closer if you want to fine tune it, but this is just an approximation. What other things do we have in this menu? We have this helper light, real light, shadowcaster option, which would be fine for internal lamps, but for external ones it's not the best result. So just let's leave it as helper light as it is. Otherwise the result would be not that realistic. Again, you could be changing the color if you want. Now once we have cranked up the light and it looks the way you want it, and we bump into the problem again that lots of things changed and the views are not changed. So what we have to do is that we have to update all the 5 views, but I really don't want to do it one by one. I want to have a switch with which I can set up all the 5 views again and update them, because now all the changes are done and it's very fine, but I don't want to manually tweak them. I want to, just to update them at once. So for that we have a switch next to the well-known icon of retaking the picture, and that is that circular arrow thingy, on which if you click, then all the instances of the pictures would be updated. So if you do that, then all the 5 pictures will be retaken, and the images in your folder would be updated. So you could be sending out again new pictures to your clients, and that way you can show the progress of your work. One thing we haven't touched upon is how do you tweak the result, the end result, because these are images of course, but you can tweak how the camera looks at these images. You can tweak the camera effects. Let me just show you real quick what I mean by that, because sometimes it happens that you want to add more realism or you want to add some kind of artificial afterwork, which you could be doing in an image manipulation software like Photoshop, but you could do the same thing in live. So let's move on to camera effects, with which you can modify one by one, view by view, how the result is looked at. Let's open up the relevant tab and see what kind of settings we have. We have field of view, obviously, depth of field if you want to maybe blur out certain things. You just want to get like a tiny slice of the world that you want to see in sharp, and the rest should be blurred. You can adjust the color, saturation, contrast, brightness. So all these things, just like when you are working with a professional camera, the end result can, and by the way should be, tweaked a little bit in order to get the right result. So this is more artsy way of dealing with things. So this is where it's not really about modeling and materials anymore, it's more about the camera that you are using. And speaking of which, I'm going to later on show you how to make not only static images but animations as well. But now it's time to actually look at what we have done so far. So we imported the model, we did a few things on it. We added the background, the environmental elements, changed materials, and then we did a few changes in SketchUp, and then we synchronized those changes in live. So that's the most important. That's the topic what I wanted to discuss. That how do you get changes from one software to the other without losing your work? And without boring you with the details, I'm going to load up a final version of this project and show you how the end result looks like. And I also have a video of how the end result is looking like at the moment. So this is the finalized version of the project. Mind you, in the beginning I mentioned the project was missing a few buildings, but now this is the full story. So the project is built up, dressed up as well, foliage, street lamps, nice background, nice lighting, nice camera effects, and lots of buildings around it. So that's how a finalized version looks like. And the important thing here to discuss is how do we, let me just show you a few other things. This kind of playground is very nice. So these are elements which came from the 3D warehouse. The question is, how do we make a video of this project? There are actually two ways to create animations in Archline, or one way, but there are more than one ways you can use it for. One example I'm going to show you is what happens if you want to give a time-lapse impression. A video is going to be taken from a single position, but the sun is going to move. So that's going to give you a nice passage of time kind of feeling. And the other example would be a moving camera, moving from point A to point B and showing you the model in movement. So the first example would be the sun itself. So what you do is that when you are recording an animation, you can decide where the starting point of your animation is. You could move it, but for now I'm going to use it as it is. And let's just click on the plus icon to start a new animation. And if I'm satisfied with the position from where I'm standing now, I'm going to say that with the starting point, the sun should be as follows. So now what I've done, I recorded the ending point, the start and the ending point of the video. And now I'm going to define how the sun is positioned for either of these positions. So let's just say that this is going to be a 12 seconds long animation. I think that would be long enough. And when I have the first keyframe selected, nothing much is happening now because I have one frame and another frame and they are the same. But if I click on the sun setup, I can scale the sun to one position I want. Maybe it's going to be like an early morning starting point, June 29th, that would be fine. Would be better if it was June 29th now because it's very cold outside, so it reminds me of summer. And the ending point would be same date, but it's going to be a later part of the day. Let's just move it to the afternoon, maybe evening-ish. And when I have that, I see that now I have two separate keyframes with two separate sun settings. So if I play the video, I see that the sun is moving. And you have noticed that there was no rendering. So in ARCHLine.XP Live, when you are making a video like that and you want to just play it back, there's no rendering. If you want to save it, there will be some rendering, but here there's none. So one advantage of ARCHLine.XP Live, there's virtually no rendering time. So whatever you do, they're going to reflect the changes right away. That was example number one, a timeless video. Example number two would be a sort of like a moving camera around my model to show the vastness of this model. So let's start with the first keyframe. Then I move the camera and find the ending position of my animation. Let's move all the way over there. Let me just find something which would be a nice path. I don't want to like skyrocket to the heavens. It would be a much smoother transition. By the way, you are able to make several animations and stitch them together. I'm not doing that now, but just for you to know. So that would be the ending point. The animation length, 1 second is just too short, so let's just give it 20 seconds. It will be nice and cozy. Just like that. Let's play it. So now the animation starts from one position and starts slowly moving to the end position of the finishing keyframe of my animation. Maybe if it's slow, you can speed it up a bit, and if you render it out, the result will be better. I should have changed the sun position. I think next time I'm going to do just that because the result will be a bit better. But luckily, I have some end results here, so I can show you what happens if you spend some more time on your model, and then you can see how the result should look like. Let me just find the videos right here. So this is how the end result should look like if you spend enough time with material settings and dress up the model accordingly. Just a quick reminder of what we have discussed so far. We imported the model from SketchUp and we started working on it on ARCHLine.XP Live. We added environmental factors, backgrounds, trees, changed the materials, changed a few things, added cars, added some depth to the model, and we did JPEG and PNG outputs, images that I could be sending to my clients. But then all of a sudden there was a change I had to make in my original model, and I did those changes. I changed the balcony sizes. So once I changed that, then I was able to resynchronize the changes with my model without losing the things that I have done in ARCHLine.XP Live. And then I continued with my work. I added the effects, the fire, street lamps, and then I made changes, updates to my cameras, used the camera effects, and eventually did some animations as well. And this is all what ARCHLine.XP Live is able to offer for you. And this is not the full story, because if you join us for next time, then we are going to talk about how to add walking people and moving vehicles to your design. Well, that's very spectacular. You might say that when we entered Sophia into the plan, she was moving in a way, yes, but this time we are going to show you how to get the result when things are moving from point A to point B. So we are going to see moving vehicles, walking people, maybe some joggers as well, if they are feeling very sporty. So that's what we are having next Wednesday. For now, I would like to thank you for your attention. As always, if you have questions on the things that I have showed you, obviously time was very short to show you everything, but if you have anything on your mind that I haven't touched upon, you can ask that. Just a reminder of a recap of what ARCHLine.XP Live is. This is the architectural visualization software we are creating in addition to our design software ARCHLine.XP. The software is free to download on our website, so you can try it. You can give it to a test drive, and for 30 days you can use it for free. If you want to use the SketchUp plugin, that's free and that is always going to be free to download, and you can use that together with your SketchUp Pro. They're always asking if the plugin is backwards compatible. It's compatible with the current SketchUp Pro version. So obviously we are not affiliated with Trimble nor with SketchUp, so we can only guarantee that it works with the latest version. So if you want to connect it together with your existing SketchUp program, you can do that. If you want to live sync your models from ARCHLine, you can do that. What happens if you have another design software? Now, ARCHLine.XP Live comes with different import formats. OBJ, FBX comes into mind. So if you have a design software on your own that you're sticking to and you don't want to change to anything else, then you should check if they have FBX or OBJ format, and if those formats can be imported into ARCHLine.XP Live. But luckily you can do that. You can test that because Live comes with a 30 days trial. Okay. Question here, do you recommend to save out a version of Live before synchronizing for recording revisions? I always try to save my model. The thing that you have to care about a great deal is that when the model comes from SketchUp or from ARCHLine to Live, you shouldn't save it under a different name. So if you save it under a different name, then the Live link will be broken. So what you do is that for safekeeping, you might have additional saves on your hard drive under a different name, but those copies would not be updating because the software wouldn't know where to push the changes, right? So always keep one where the name is unchanged. But what I would like to do, I haven't showed you that, but when you are working in Live, every 10 or 12 steps, the software does a save on its own. So you shouldn't worry about losing your work because the software does safekeeping of your project and of your progression. So that's what I wanted to discuss today. I hope it was enlightening in terms of the live sync or plugin topics, the connection between SketchUp and ARCHLine.XP Live. Like I said, next time we are going to look at movement, so it's going to be very exciting. So join us next Wednesday when we talk about this. And if you missed any of the shows about Live, make sure to check the website where you see all the previous shows that we did. We did topics, for example, Live use for architectural projects or interior design visualization. So if you look at this show and you see, well, this is fine, but this is not the kind of project I'm working on, make sure you check out our website because I'm sure that you're going to see something would be much closer to what you are doing. Again, if you like the video and if you want to keep in touch with the things that we are working on, make sure that you like the video, obviously, and subscribe to the channel so you're never going to miss another show. For now, I would like to thank you for your attention and see you next Wednesday. Bye bye. And again.